The market is crashing. It's crashing, man. Oh, well, at least my portfolio is crashing. I'm down a percent and a half. This is Black Friday, everyone. Black Friday, where everything's supposed to be, shopping, good. It is not, at least for me. Look at this. Just painful. It's just painful. Actually, it's more than that. It's a bigger drop. Um, we're gonna do two things. One, overview of the portfolio, see what dropped and went up, if anything. And two, we're gonna be talking about, well, we talked about market crash. How fitting. We talked about market downturns last time. But this time we're gonna talk about uranium, and we'll see why uranium, why I'm invested in uranium, why I think it might go up. All right. So first of all, as you can see, my options play is pretty poor lately. That's all right though. We'll make it up. Biggest loser of mine across portfolios is this one, of course, EXK. I did sell $1,000, $1,100 worth of it, and had that positive trade. Bought at 181, sold at 2, and now it's on the way down again. Hopefully, it doesn't continue for too long. I'm still pretty invested in it, so I'm losing money right now. There's only a few things that are positive. You can see S8 right here, which is the short market ETF. It went up just a little bit. It travels inversely of the markets, especially the S&P 500, which it is negatively correlated to. Let's see. What else? The precious metals miners, of course, went down big. Wheaton Precious Metals down 3%. I have a big holding in that. Super down. Let's see how Russia did here. Russia down 2%. I have a big holding in that. You Energy Fuels down 4%. I have a big holding in that. Cameco down 2%. I have a big holding in that. URA down 3%. I definitely have a big holding in that. Apple down 2.5%. I also have a big, very big holding in that. Look at this, $4,000 now. It would have been a lot more had Apple decided, to just drop. There was one point, if you go back maybe 50 episodes, where Apple just couldn't do no wrong. It couldn't do no wrong. And now look at it. It's wrong, Apple. Oh, it's wrong. All right. Definitely wrong. That's like a 25% plus correction slash bear market, whatever you want to call it. You can think of it as like a discount or the beginning of the trend. It's up to you. Now, that's the overview of the portfolio. Oh, the China. We didn't talk about China. JD down 5%. Alibaba about flat, up 0.5%. Brazilian stocks are down. China down 1.5% overall. So that's that. Okay, that's the update. Um, so we're gonna talk about uranium. Why? Why uranium? So let's just look at URA, which is the uranium ETF, uranium business ETF. It's not just miners, it's other companies related to the uranium business. This business has only one customer, which is governments. One type of customer, which is governments, utilities that are ran by governments, okay? Because you need special permits to operate these types of heavy metals that are radioactive and just a tad bit potentially explosive. We've seen explosions in Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We've seen explosions in Chernobyl. We've seen test explosions, and all these bombs are either uranium or plutonium. So it's a very niche market to say the least. You need a ton of clearance to operate with this metal, and it's very hard to get permits and stuff like that. So the least that we could say about this market is that it's clunky, supremely clunky. So therefore, the repricing happens very, very rapidly. Sometimes one might refer to it as instantaneously. This is why there could be a lot of money made in uranium. Now, as you can see though, in the past month, it hasn't been doing very hot. Past 3 months hasn't been doing very hot, down 4%. This is just the ETF. It does charge up, I think, 0.65% fee for holding it, but nevertheless, it shouldn't be dropping this much. In the past year, it's down 20%, and in the past 5 years, it's down almost 60%, 57.5. Now, in 2011, this was much higher. The chart on Robinhood doesn't go that far, but it's come from a big drop. Um, the biggest drop was the biggest peak was in 2007 when uranium itself was like almost 160, somewhere around there, maybe 140, and now it's at around sitting around $29 per pound. It was as low as 18 in December 2015 right here, and then this little pop-up coincided with uranium pop coming off the bottom. It's really hard to put down a price for uranium itself, the metal, because it's such an illiquid market, right? Everything is done on contracts and long-term contracts, short-term contracts. There's barely anybody trading uranium on the spot. It's very hard to just, you know, there just isn't demand for it. Like you can order it from some company, but like what are you gonna, just put it in a museum? I mean, what are you gonna do with uranium if you don't have a nuclear station, nuclear power station? So, the market's very illiquid. It's like a fine art market or something. But right now it's in the dumps. Okay, that wasn't a very good analogy, but let's move on. Pretend I didn't say it. Right now it's definitely in the dumps, but this you could take a look at this as forming a really, really long-term bottom or a consolidation before a further drop. Now there's a trading philosophy here that says the longer the time period, the more aggressive the price period. Okay, so this has been in a time period, a horizontal movement from January 2016 till now. So it's likely that after these years of virtually no movement in the price, that it's going to either skyrocket or just go down very, very, very low. Now, obviously, I think it's going to go up, and that's not the only reason, by the way. Because I mean, if it goes any further down, there will be just zero uranium production. Everyone is gonna shut down if the price drops by half right now. From 30 to 15, everyone just shut down. There's just no point, which they're just gonna go into other businesses. Uh, I mean, there is a lot of uranium right now to supply utilities worldwide, but there's a lot of positive developments for the price of the metal that are happening, and so I think that it's my duty to try to take advantage of them, even though I've been losing a lot of money on this. You can see I'm down 20% on this already, $800. Losing a lot right now to hopefully have some return in the long term. This is, something that's going to help me get to that $1 million mark, hopefully one day. And positive developments for the metal, things that excite me is Cameco. They're one of the biggest players in the industry, and they've been shutting down some mines, been taking some material off the markets, and Kazatomprom, which is a Kazakh company, is going public soon. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know if it's going to bring more money into the space. It's going to suck up liquidity. I, are people going to trust the Kazakhs? No one knows. Or maybe somebody does, but certainly not me. And if somebody does know, maybe you can holler, leave a comment and let me know. Um, but I do see a lot of positive developments. Number one, because nuclear is starting to get off of its bad image, so it's not perceived as such a dangerous and bad and anti-green metal. It is a green type of way to generate energy, nuclear. It's the greenest out of all of them, basically, besides maybe wind, but you can even argue that, or geothermal. It's very environmentally friendly, and countries that use coal or gas or anything like that, especially coal, um, the pollution is just crazy, right? So for Germany, for example, recently switched over from um, using nuclear to other means, and they're dealing with a lot of pollution right there. But wherever you see around the world, some of the cleanest countries are the ones that use nuclear energy as their energy source. So I think the stigma is being shaved off of the uranium way of generating electricity. And two, in 2011, we had that earthquake in Japan that shut down all of their reactors. They have a lot, they have 30 plus reactors, and they're slowly coming online now after a very extensive reviews, and the public isn't as negative towards the plants anymore. They do need a lot of electricity, and they've been using natural gas as a substitute for now, but it's very costly. They're way better off using their nuclear stations that they have invested lots of money in. And uranium as a fuel is much, 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 much cheaper once you have the stations built than natural gas. So they're not doing a very smart decision by bidding up the natural gas price further and using it widely throughout the country for energy. So that's bullish for the price. The shutting downs of mines of chemical is bullish for the price. The Kazakh story is unknown, and the fact that we're so low historically is also kind of giving a little bit of a plus sign that we might be at least near a bottom. I mean, uh, this just requires a lot of patience. It's definitely a bet. All right, there's no sure things here, at least for me. If you ask some investors like Rick Rule, he's 100% confident, for that the uranium market will go up. I'm not, so I'm thinking of this as a bet, but hopefully it pays out. It's calculated bet. I'm not investing my entire portfolio into it, but only maybe $6,000, $7,000, maybe 8,000 initially invested. Maybe it's at 6.5 right now. Um, and hopefully it works out. But this is why I'm invested in uranium, all right, because of all these reasons. I think it's just a really upside heavy potential bet with a limited downside. And as long as we have nuclear stations out there, uranium is going to have some value, right? It might be a lot less, it might be half the price it is now, but it's going to have some value, right? So there's a limited downside and then a really big upside if it turns out there isn't that much uranium on the market, or a bunch of stations get opened up, or there's speculative money that come in. This market is very liquid, so it can get bid up really quickly, and it might be time for me to cash out. So it's a bet, limited downside, explosive potential on the upside, and this is why I am into uranium. I hope you enjoyed this, or at least learned something. Maybe you already knew this, but if I miss something, you think that I'm mistaken on some fact or some reasoning or anything like that, comment and we can talk about it. All right, that's it for now. See y'all probably on Monday. Peace out.